Hello, I'm Matthew of Another World Terraria. In today's vlog, I'll be covering updates on the Buce Ravine Terrarium, my 7 best tips for living during the coronavirus outbreak, what's growing and blooming in my plant collection, and a couple other quick topics toward the end. Let's start with the status update on the Buce Ravine Terrarium. It's been extremely healthy and the plants and moss are looking even better than when I first planted them. I'll show you around the tank here and we'll go over a few key developments. Up top, the Octoblepharum moss is turning darker green and filling in a bit more. The Limophyllum microphyllum is sending out rhizomes and new fronds, and the little Buce rhizome I planted in the crevice has started putting down roots so it can attach and stabilize itself to the rock. The mold that was growing on the roots has finally died off and they're looking a lot better. Toward the bottom, the Buce are super dark and sexy and they're growing really well. The Buce moss is filling in nicely. It's super slow growing, but in a way that's kind of ideal for a smaller terrarium. There's also some algae growth, but I'm not too concerned with it right now. One issue is that, as expected, the Buce near the top aren't looking as good because the light is brighter and it's drier, and I don't spray them as often as they'd like. Other than that, this thing is working out beautifully. By the way, I have a video series that shows exactly how I made this terrarium from start to finish with lots of in-depth information and tips, so check that out after this video if you'd like to learn more. And speaking of Bucephalandra, if you'd like to learn exactly how I grow my Buce stock, check out my video series, How to Grow Buce Immersed Like a Boss. Now I want to talk about my best tips for how to live during the coronavirus outbreak. Incidentally, I'd give these same tips for a good way to live life every day, regardless of the situation. After I share these tips with you, we'll take a look at what's growing and blooming in my collection. If you want to skip these tips, you can jump ahead to about the 5-minute mark for the plant updates. I'm going to start off with the most important tip first. If you want to be happier and deal with this situation better, it's absolutely crucial that you follow my first tip, which is stop immersing yourself in the situation. Don't make the mistake of focusing constantly on coronavirus news, social media, discussions with other people, and fears about the future. Quickly gather the key facts and info you need to be safe, and then move on to other things, which I'll talk about now in tip number 2. Replace destructive habits with constructive habits. I know it can be challenging to make smart decisions when you're under a lot of stress, but do your best to make positive decisions instead of negative ones. Some suggestions are exercising and eating healthy, working on hobbies, working on goals, spreading positive thoughts and energy to others, and meditating. Every single tip I just mentioned will make you happier and also strengthen your immune system. I won't list the destructive habits I think you should avoid, but they're basically the antithesis of the ones I just mentioned, and they'll make you miserable and weaken your immune system. Speaking of the choice to be either negative or positive, let's talk about tip number 3. Be as positive as you can. Focus on anything and everything you can that's good, that's going well, that you're thankful for, and on optimistic ideas about what could come of this situation. Now let's move on to tip number 4. Eat as healthy as you can. I realize it's a challenging time to be eating healthy and there may not be as much access to certain foods, but it's still a good idea to do the best you can with eating healthy. Mostly I'd suggest avoiding eating a lot of carbs, junk food, processed foods, sugar, and to drink water instead of soda and other unhealthy drinks. Related to health, let's get to tip number 5, exercise. Exercise is critical for physical and mental health, so get creative at home and do some things like push-ups, lunges, jumping jacks, jogging in place, doing house cleaning and chores, and going for a walk outside, assuming you can distance yourself from other people and risky situations. Let's jump to tip number 6, virtually connect with other people. Being isolated too much can be harmful to your mental and emotional state, so it's a good idea to talk to friends and family at least once a day using a service like Skype. Ask the other person not to talk too much about the virus and negative news and fear. I can understand a quick discussion and venting might be good, but try to keep the majority of the conversation focused on positive things. Let's go to the final tip now. Empower yourself and others. Make a commitment to yourself that you'll try to find the benefits in this challenge, that you'll use it as an opportunity to learn and grow, and that you'll get more prepared for future hardships. Make it a challenge to see how much positive thinking and positive energy that you can spread to other people and how much of a positive impact you can have on the world. If you found any of these tips useful, please let me know in the comments what you plan to do different from this point forward. Okay, now let's check out some of the stuff that's growing and blooming in my collection. When you have a lot of plants like I do, there's always something happening. Here's an absolutely stunning plant right here. This is a species of Bucephalandra. It is often known as Skeleton King or Achilles. This is the green form. The actual species name is Bucephalandra kishii. So that is the identification, and this one is developing an inflorescence right here, and soon that spath right there will open up and the spadix will be revealed. This is an aroid or an aroid type of plant. Just absolutely incredible foliage, really nice plant. So believe it or not, this is actually a bromeliad. This is Deutericonia brevifolia. It's a tiny little map-forming species that grows on cliffs in arid regions of Bolivia and Argentina. And I am super stoked because I'm right in the middle of watering all my plants, and I just checked on this guy and I noticed that there's a little, see that little thing right there, and there's one right over here. That's actually new growth. This is a recently acquired plant that I got from a friend, and it wasn't really doing that well for a while, and now it looks like it's starting to perk back up. The little rosettes are starting to look better, and as you can see, there's growth coming out, so it's going to spread and start creating a little mat, and I'll probably have to actually put it in a larger pot pretty soon. I've got some pretty special plants right here. This is Columnia purpurea vittata. It comes from the cloud forests, and it hangs down as an epiphyte from trees and so forth. Just got a really nice growth form, incredible foliage with amazing texture and color, and these guys are actually in bloom right now. You can see some of the flower buds kind of right there, and I'm going to try and get a better shot for you. Alright, so this is one of the blooms that is not actually fully open yet. It's developing, and I'd say in a few days to a week it will probably be open. This is an old bloom that fell off of the plant, but you can see the shape of it, kind of a trumpet shape, which is typical of the Columnia genus. You can see the inside, just the stripes and everything, and the hairs on it is really incredible. Here's a nice bin with a whole bunch of Begonia and prismaticarpa and a really nice fern. This Begonia is pretty much always blooming, and it's a very easy plant, so if you are getting into rare miniature plants and you're kind of new at it, definitely get Begonia and prismaticarpa. It's pretty simple to grow. I grow it in sphagnum, but it can grow in a lot of other substrates too, and it can do really well being wet, so if you overwater it, it's not going to be an issue. But you can just keep it in a really humid bin. It does need humidity, and just water it and give it a little fert, and it will totally bloom for you and grow like a weed. I'm also noticing that certain things seem like they need some fertilizer, so I'm using my Osmocote Plus, which I've gone over in another video about fertilizers that I use, and I'm just kind of throwing some stuff in here and making sure things have fertilizer while I'm also watering. It's a good time to do that. This one here is a miniature terrestrial orchid in the genus Caribus. This is an undescribed species from the Philippines. There's some moss and stuff around here, but there's also something that looks just like the moss, but it's actually a little runner coming off of the plant. I'm trying to point to it right there. It's coming right off the base of this plant right here, and there's a number of other ones coming off of the other plant and kind of spreading around. Eventually this will create a mat and fill this whole bin. It'll take a while, but it will. And then they get these incredible flowers on them, which I can show you a photo of here. There's some super nice stuff in here. Got this beautiful rare peperomia. This is Peperomia species Lago. Got some really nice Pilea species here. The purple one. Got a type of orchid here. What I really want to show you is this extremely rare miniature begonia from Borneo. This is Begonia lichenora. I just absolutely love this plant. Got some little tiny flowers here. It's an extremely difficult to grow begonia. Very prone to melting, and the whole thing can just melt away pretty quickly. I keep this one very humid in this sealed plastic bin. This is one of my grow bins. I've got a tutorial series all about how I make these bins. Got a really beautiful begonia here. This is Begonia Cleopatra, and this one's blooming right now. It's got some really beautiful flowers. This beautiful begonia down here with the stunning foliage, this is Begonia ningmingensis variety Bella. So this one is a limestone cliff growing species from China. And right over here is a similar begonia, which is also a limestone grower, and this one is Begonia cui. These do get a little bit larger, but they've kind of been almost like a bonsai in a way because I keep them in the smaller pots. This orchid down here, this is a jewel orchid. The foliage isn't looking that great, probably because there's not enough room for the airflow, and so I think it's been a little too wet. But in fact, it is blooming. So you can see this Ludicea discolor variety alba, and these are the blooms on that orchid. Really beautiful. Do a little update on some seeds that I sowed. It's been almost 2 months since I've sowed seeds in here. There's about 5 species of different gesneriads. So there's Streptocarpus, Syningia, Gesneria, and some other stuff. Maybe less than 10 seeds have germinated, and it's only been a couple different species. So I'm hoping that given some more time, these things will do well and eventually pop up, and then I can have some really cool miniature plants to show you in the future. In other news, I got a 9-page article published in a magazine showcasing a couple of my paludariums. The name of the magazine is DATZ. It's spelled D-A-T-Z. It's a German language publication about aquariums and terrariums. The article features my 29-gallon Newt paludarium as well as my 10-gallon Dripwall tank. If you're into Dripwall tanks, check out my detailed video series which shows exactly how I made the Dripwall. I also wanted to quickly mention my recent unboxing video in which I show you some really cool mini jungle plants. The fern in that video is insane. Check it out if you're into unboxings. If you comment, like, and share my videos, thank you. I truly appreciate it. If you haven't already, join Team Terraria now by hitting the subscribe button, and make sure you ring the bell so you don't miss any new videos. Now go check out the video description or info cards for links to all the videos that I mentioned in this vlog.